Thanks everyone for coming out. The time is 6 p.m. I call to order this regular scheduled meeting of the Oconee County Council. Today is September 17th, 2024. We're going to begin with a moment of silence. Mr. David Root, would you lead us in prayer?
Pray with me if you'd like to. Dearest Father, please give me the words to pray first. And thank you for your guidance by your Spirit, for what we do, what we say, and reminding us things not to do and not to say, and helping us to do things right. I pray that you do that this evening, that you would guide council, guide staff, so that we do things right as measured by you, by your wisdom and your guidance. We love our neighbor, and we demonstrate that by our actions. In your name I pray. Amen.
Mr. Tony Adams, would you lead us in prayer? Next, we have approval of minutes from the September 3rd, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion or changes? Hearing none, all in favor? We have county attorney comments. Mr. David Root.
I have none this evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Root. County administrator comments, Mr. Brock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of council. I have one follow-up matter and one just general great news matter. The follow-up matter was a question presented by Mr. Mize during the last council meeting, asking the total running balance for outside legal fees related to the bond lawsuit. That number is $94,550. The good news is we were all present today. Most of us were present today for the Mayan American grand opening. Mayan America is located in Georgia, has opened a manufacturing facility here in Oconee Industry and Technology Park. Their economic investment is one that is very unusual for us. They are the manufacturer of poultry processing equipment, which means we are now marrying manufacturing with agricultural, and this could be a cornerstone for things to come in Oconee County. That is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Brock. Next, we have the millage presentation by Ms. Christy Herbert, the county auditor.
Good evening. How is everyone today? So it's that time of year. As you know, I'm here to recommend millage for you to adopt for the upcoming tax year. The plan is to mail the tax notices out on or about October 1st, hoping to have the actual books open later next week. The assessed values for the county are up this year. For county operations, the assessed value is right at $700 million. That is up around 9.3% from last year. For school operations, we're at $509 million, and that's actually an increase of around 10.6%. And for school bonds, which represents the assessed value for the total county as a whole, that is up 8.6% at $744 million and some change. When you multiply those assessments out times 0.001, you get the actual value of a mill. So the millage that you set tonight, one mill for county operations is going to be worth $699,000. School operations, $509,699, and school bonds, $744,699. All these mill values vary due to various abatements and reductions from each entity based on state laws and credits. county budget that was approved was over $49 million this year. And out of that $49 million to set millage, I will be setting millage on $32.7 million. For the school district, the approved budget was $81.7 million, and out of that, the operational millage, we will be setting millage on $56 million. We also have to account for the bond payments. This year, the county debt service for the county is a little over $3.3 million, and for the school district is $26.7 million. The amounts listed above are for payments due from October 24 to October 25. The payments that are due in September of this year were accounted for in the millage from the previous tax year. One special service district, Kiwi Fire, has a bond payment as well due this year, over $102,000. And this bond payment will be paid out of their designated millage. The recommended millage to fund for 24-25, the overall number is the same as last year, 214.9 mils. But this is going to show, my recommendation for the county would be a 1.1 decrease. For school operations, a 1.4 mil increase. County bonds, a decrease of 0.3 of a mil to 2.7. And for school bonds to remain the same at 30 mils. Again, no change in the bottom line, 214.9 mils. The next page is an overall millage breakdown. To show the differences from prior year to this year, I'm just going to read over that. For operations, it's going down 0.1 of a mil. It was 46.8 last year for the unincorporated line item. And for economic development, when you were setting the budget, you voted to change it from 2.1 mils to 1.1. And then county bonds is going down 0.3 of a mil from 3 mils. So that is a reduction of 1.4 on the county side, which we're needing to add to the school operations side, 1.4. So that's where your balance comes out again at 214.9. The next slide shows the cities and the special service district millages. Out of all the 5 towns, 3 towns is increasing their millage this year. The increase is in Seneca, Walhalla, and West Union. With the mill increase for the cities, it is going to be an impact to the taxpayers. On the next slide, I have shown for the city of Seneca a vehicle notice as well as a $250,000 home value. What you're seeing in yellow is the amount of taxes that will show on the tax notices going out to the taxpayer, and this is city dollars only, not county dollars. So with the millage increases on the towns, it's going to cause the tax notices to go up for Seneca. I followed suit for Walhalla, same. West Union as well. One thing about changing the millage for the school operations, increasing it is going to make the school tax credit increase for the residents of Oconee County. So on the sheet where it says impacts of millages for Oconee County, you'll see that the vehicle tax is going to be flat. So if you had a $25,000 value vehicle this year and you have another vehicle that's valued at the same amount next year, you will see no difference in taxes. For real estate, on a 6% property, it'll be a flat rate as well. But for homes that have residents on them, which means that is someone's legal residence, they will actually show a decrease because the school tax credit millage is higher this year. So that's a positive as well. So that's it. You guys have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Herbert. So, motion to adopt to set the millage as presented by Ms. Hubbard.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, next we'll have public comment session. All right, so the public comments is 5 minutes. When you approach 4 minutes, I'll hold up a yellow warning sign at 1 minute left. Then at 5 minutes, I'll hold up the red stop sign. Just a reminder, try to keep it focused on county business or things that the county can control. And if you have not spoke before, it's not interactive, not out and back, the public could comment, and then we'll have another session later for council member comment.
Mr. Tony Adams.
I'm Tony Adams, and I appreciate your time tonight. What motivated my comments was seeing that council will receive an update on the bond litigation in executive session later this evening. My comments are about the Sewer South system and the county general obligation bond targeted to finish the build-out of the Sewer South network that is presently tied up in litigation. To make my points, I will digress back to 2014 and the history of Sewer South to date. 2014 is when Michelin Tire Company took an option on the Golden Corner Commerce Park as a potential site for their new East Coast Distribution Center. At that time, there was no sewer service available at that industrial park. And the county began developing plans to extend sewer service to the Golden Corner Commerce Park from the Conroe treatment plant. This is in anticipation of getting the Michelin project. So Sewer South Phase 1 was not a sewer line to nowhere, as some opponents of Sewer South would have us believe. Sewer South Phase 1 was completed to the Golden Corner Commerce Park in 2016. But unfortunately, Michelin decided not to build their new distribution center they did decide to build a new distribution center near Greer. After this, there were plans to build a 50,000 square foot spec building at the Golden Corner Commerce Park. A considerable amount of state C funds were spent to grade an entranceway to this spec building site. A pad was prepared for the spec building that was to be financed by a low-interest Santee Cooper loan that will be repaid when the building is sold. Blue Ridge Electric Co-op built their new Fairplay substation at the Golden Corner Commerce Park to upgrade their service to Southern Oconee. For reasons unknown to me, the plans for the spec building died on the vine. Along about this time in 2016 is when Patilla Construction and Development Company offered to sign a development agreement for the Golden Corner Commerce Park or buy it from the county. And county council declined that offer. Again, for reasons I don't know. This was when Hart County was wrapping up their new Gateway Industrial Park just across the state line. And it is fact that this industrial park has been very successful for Hart County, as Oconee's Golden Corner Commerce Park was abandoned to kudzu and thorn trees after sewer service arrived in 2016. Development of Hart County's Gateway Park has not negatively impacted the agricultural business in that area, as opponents of Sewer South said would happen in Oconee County. Opponents of Sewer South use the Golden Corner Commerce Park not being developed as another argument against Sewer South. To me, the important question is, why has this park not been developed to help restore and diversify our industrial base in Oconee, as well as add to our tax base to keep our property taxes low? I base my question on the facts I have discussed earlier in my comment. It is also a fairly good likelihood that an industry with a need for significant sewer service has been recruited to the Golden Corner Commerce Park, that current sewer customers in Oconee would not have been subjected to multiple large rate increases because the sewer authority had been operating in the red for several years of the revenue overrun, or the expenses overrun their revenues, because their customer base had not grown and may have actually decreased due to several factories which use significant sewer service having closed in Oconee during the 1990s and not replaced. Now we'll fast forward to early 2018 when the South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority identified a $3+ million federal Economic Development Administration grant to fund the majority of the cost of Sewer South Phase 2 to Oconee I-85 corridor after a 40-year wait. The Rural Infrastructure Authority provided an approximately $1 million grant toward the estimated $5.2 million cost of Sewer South Phase 2. The county provided $800,000. The EDA grant was awarded in fall of 2018. After considerable argument in late 2018, early 2019, the ownership of Phase 2 was awarded to the Oconee Joint Regional Sewer Authority based on what was later determined could have been erroneous advice by an Appalachian Council of Government representative. As we are well aware, nothing happened on Sewer South Phase 2 in 2019, 2020, or 2021 after the Sewer Authority gained control of Phase 2.
Mr. Adams, would y'all like to vote to give Mr. Adams a minute?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we let him have another minute.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, in the fall of 2022, the Sewer Authority issued requests for quotes to build Sewer South Phase 2. After the Biden ARP money had flooded the economy and caused a large demand for infrastructure projects like Phase 2. When the bids on Phase 2 were opened, the low bid was for $12 million, an increase of almost $7 million from the original 2018 cost. I believe it is a good bet that if the county had retained ownership of Phase 2, that it would have been built earlier at or near the original cost estimates. I base this comment on how the county completed the Sewer South Phase 1 project in 2015-16. Now to my point. I believe the county needs to require the plaintiffs in the current lawsuit against the use of the county bond to put up a bond to protect the county from increased costs due to delay in using the bond for its intended purpose. I would suggest a $1 million bond to cover the current delay, with another $1 million being added on the March anniversary of the lawsuit being filed if this issue has not been resolved by that time.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Mr. Jim Corey.
Thank you, Council. I'm here to voice my support in the support of the Oconee pickleball community to support the funding for the engineering services at Southcote Park to expand the pickleball courts, tennis courts, lighting, parking, and restroom facilities. I think we had, Jennifer, 39 people as of 4:30? 29, excuse me. 29 as of 4:30 and more supporting this in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's all we have.
Next, we have council member comment session.
Yep, excuse me, yes, Mr. Chairman. Get my voice. This afternoon, the sheriff's office, with the sheriff and his team, went out to the city of Salem, cooked hamburgers and hot dogs for the great citizens of the city of Salem. It's a great program. They're going around to all the different communities and getting the communities to know the sheriff's office. They're the good guys. Sometimes they're portrayed as the bad guys, but they're the good guys. And they're doing a great job of going out. There was a big crowd when I left the town of Salem this afternoon, all eating hamburgers and hot dogs. The officers and deputies were serving the hamburgers and hot dogs, and everybody was getting to know everybody. I think it's a great program, and I just want to applaud the sheriff and his team for what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Earl.
Mr. Chairman, at the Apple Festival luncheon, I spoke with the chairman of the C Funds and asked him about using that money for paying for engineering, and he said yes, that it could be used for that, but he'd have to get the approval out of Columbia, but the money can be used for that engineering project.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
may I add to that, Mr. Hart? I'm sorry, I meant to bring that up as well as part of our past news. The C Fund Committee meeting is this coming Thursday morning at 10 o'clock in the conference room here at Pine Street.
Thank you, Ms. Brock. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, we move on to public hearing for the following ordinances. We only have one. It's going to be ordinance 2024-20. An ordinance authorizing Oconee County, South Carolina to finance and acquire certain tanker trucks and related equipment in an amount not exceeding $3,380,000 to execute and deliver all documents necessary to carry out the financing and acquisition and other related matters.
We've had no one to sign up.
To sign up? Anybody? All right, so I'll close public hearing on ordinance 2024-20. Next, we have third and final reading of the following ordinance is ordinance 2024-20. I just previously read it for public hearing. It's on the monitor up here. Motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Next, we have first reading of the following ordinances. Again, we only have one. It's ordinance 2024-23, an ordinance amending portions of chapter 32 and 38 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances in limited regards and particulars only in order to revise certain setbacks related provisions, including definitions and the application thereof and other matters related thereto. A motion?
Second.
Second. Mr. Johnson, the Planning Commission Chairman, would like to come and make a presentation.
My name is Mike Johnson. I'm the chairman of the Oconee County Planning Commission. I want to thank County Council for letting me speak regarding this amendment to development standards found in Chapter 32 and 38 of our Code of Ordinances. Planning Commission, by unanimous vote, is recommending County Council approve Ordinance 2024-23, and I'm here to help provide clarification of the council and to the community. The ordinance makes consistent a few interpretation and definition conflicts between Chapter 32 and 38. The adoption of this ordinance will assist our citizens by providing clarity, consistency, and narrowing the scope of interpretation currently found in the code. The issue we addressed was the criteria of flag lots being applied to irregular shaped lots. This was causing citizens to end up going in front of the BZA in order to build their home on their lot in a way they thought they could. In addressing this issue, we had citizen feedback and questions as to why we were making the change, and I wanted to address that in the event that you hear similar feedback over the next several meetings. First, we spent much of the year dealing with development standards, and this is part of that work. Second, and most important, is the current code being applied to existing lots where in some cases neighborhood plats were approved 10 and 20 years ago. During our planning meeting, we heard comments such as suggesting that the property owner can simply go in front of the BZA, and why do we need to make the change? However, a lot of people don't understand that the BZA is kind of a judiciary body where you're hiring an attorney to plead your case. Because to appeal the BZA is to go through the court system. It's not as simple as coming in front of county council and saying, I didn't feel like I was treated fair. So if you'll let me, I'd like to go through a few slides. If we could go to slide 2. Our current code defines setbacks for a front of a lot, a side of a lot, a rear of a lot, etc. The code says that front setbacks shall be measured from the road right-of-way. However, flag lots, as shown on this chart, there's a special exception. In a flag lot, the front setback is not measured from the road or the right-of-way. It's measured from the point at which the lot opens up into the flag portion, not the flagpole portion. The problem is that our zoning, various zones, say lots have to be so wide. And under residential zoning, the lot has to be 80 feet wide for your build area. So in our definition, it says instead of the road right-of-way being the setback is at the point at which the lot becomes 80 feet wide under residential zoning. So flag lots in and of itself was pretty correct. But if you'll go to slide 3, the problem is in this example is we're applying the criteria for flag lots simply to irregular shaped lots. You've got houses that meet their setback off of the right-of-way, but a lot that's not 80 foot wide at the road all of a sudden gets applied in a flag lot fashion, which means that they don't start the setback until the lot becomes 80 feet wide, and then they apply the setback. Somebody standing on this lot looks like everybody else's lot. There may be a big ditch or a big hole here that all of a sudden we're requiring that they're pushed back into, and they didn't realize that when they bought it. If you'll go to the next slide, we're correcting this. We're saying these people were able to build as long as their lot was 80 feet wide. This person should be able to build as long as their lot is 80 feet wide. They shouldn't have to do an additional setback from that point. These things correct what were definition interpretations in 32 and 38 that made this application, we believe, incorrect. If you go to slide 5, this is a real life example, and this is a real hard to see example, but there are houses all along a road. There is a vacant lot here where I've put a gray mark for a house. This lot, they don't start their front setback at the right-of-way. They start it at the point that the lot's 80 feet wide. And in fact, what this is going to do when this person realizes that they're going to come to start build is there's a big ditch in their area, and they're going to be pushed back into the ditch based on our current requirement. Whereas they could have been up on the road like everybody else, just where their lot's 80 feet wide. So we've tried to go and correct that. If you'll go to slide 6, most of our lots in the area are not rectangular or square lots. We're actually currently we're pushing developers into trying to create something square, which means they're cutting down everything trying to get that rectangular lot, whereas back in the day, nothing was a rectangular or square lot. This kind of helps fix that problem. If you'll go to the next slide. Right now, lots A, B, C, E, F, and G are all considered flag lots by our current definition. And we're by this new information trying to correct that. A flag lot is a flag lot, but this should not be considered a flag lot. It's as wide right here as this lot is. This lot E is as wide right here as lot D, if not wider, but we're saying we've got to come here and push that homeowner back. So this corrects and clarifies some of that information and makes our definitions in those 2 chapters equal. And so that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Johnson, 80% of the county is control-free. This doesn't.
This does not apply to control-free at this point in time. It complies to all of our zones. If at some point in the future zoning was ever applied to another area, then this misapplication would then fall under that. As it stands right now, control-free doesn't have a minimum width of a lot that you can build on. You can build on a 40-foot wide lot, you can build on a 50-foot wide lot, etc. Under residential zoning, the lot has to be 80 feet wide in order to build under it. And so any lots, you get to that point, it becomes the build zone, except under our current misdefinition, we're saying, okay, at the point at which the build zone would normally be, we're pushing you another 25 feet. So this fixes that application. Any other questions?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Hart did point something out, though, that I think I would hope that he would address.
Yes, in chapter 38, number 4, it says that a pole portion of a flag lot shall not be used to calculate, and it's gave 3 different things. One of them is area, and the area should be taken out. It can be calculate width and setbacks of a lot, or provide for setbacks of off-street parking. But the area, me being a surveyor, the area, if you buy a lot, and it happens to be one of those lots, you buy an acre and a quarter, that pole of the flag lot is calculated in the area. So this is incorrect, and I think it should be removed. The area word only.
You want to make a motion to remove that word?
Yeah, I want to make a motion to remove the word area from number 4.
I'll second it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just jump in now, it's not necessarily to that, but I think this is a good point to highlight for the folks who are looking at this. It says it within the ordinance, but if you look at Exhibit B, the red lines are all the changes. So it's stricken if the language is deleted in Exhibit A. It's in red, new, if it is new text in Exhibit A. So the area's been in there for, I don't know how long. I don't know, Mr. Coley, if you've had any issues with it, as far as we know. But I don't have any problem with striking it either. I just say that to our planning director, he doesn't see me. He doesn't see it. All right. Just wanted to get that information. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion of Mr. Hart's motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of Mr. Hart's motion? So now that brings us back to the ordinance as amended by Mr. Hart. Is there any further discussion on the ordinance? Hearing none, all in favor? Next, we have discussion regarding action items, council discussion and consideration of the submission of the fiscal year 2024 National Dam Safety Program Rehabilitation of High Hazard Potential Dam Grant Application to the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services on behalf of the Chattooga Lake Club. It's the staff's recommendation that council consider the submission of the fiscal year 2024 National Dam Safety Program Rehabilitation of High Hazard Potential Dam Grant Application to the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services. Does anybody have any questions or?
I think this ought to be put back until we get an opinion from the Attorney General on the liabilities of this for this county.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I think Mr. Hart was talking about something I was referencing earlier. Ms. Brock had some concerns. I don't know if she wants to relay those first, or I could.
I'm happy to.
Okay.
Whichever way is more comfortable for anyone. So we do believe that this dam does need attention, and this came through our granting office, our grants administration office. The grant administrator was unable to be here this evening, so we have been working with the Chattooga Lake Club on this project for several weeks. They have submitted a pretty tight budget. The concerns that I have regarding the county's responsibilities would be outside of a perpetual maintenance agreement with the Chattooga Lake Club, which is like a homeowners association, for lack of a better term for them, would be that the perpetual maintenance agreement would fall back on the county, and anything regarding the maintenance of the dam would be county responsibility. There are some onset use of county funds that I had questioned the county attorney about regarding the use of county employees and the county staff for the production of grant materials related to this, even though it's a very worthwhile. I wanted to ensure, because this is an entirely private organization on private property and a private lake. I wasn't sure if we were able to do that, which is how Mr. Root got involved. And now you can address your concerns, I guess.
My concern, it ties directly to that, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Hart was speaking to this, was, well, we don't, obviously, there are benefits, hopefully myriad benefits to private citizens by work of county employees. There's a long line of Attorney General opinions that and they're pretty much uniformly within the context of roads, that political subdivisions of the state cannot use public funds, tax dollars, on private property, being private roads. This particular FEMA requirement calls for the county in this instance to enter into an operations and maintenance plan with the HOA, Lake Chattooga Lake Club. If Chattooga Lake Club cannot keep up with operations and maintenance, the federal government, the state are gonna look to the county. That would trigger that, what I believe to be a prohibition on the use of public funds on private property. This is a DHEC, formerly DHEC, now DES program. I've corresponded with them. I didn't get an answer that gave me warm fuzzies, that they had considered it and felt comfortable with this. So I want to just peek under the hood more on this, and it may take an AG opinion to get the AG to weigh in. They're generally pretty quick on it, but that way I'd feel comfortable that the county's not obliging itself, in perpetuity for the life of this bridge to spend public funds on this private property, unlawfully, obviously.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this until we have better information.
What is table procedure? Do we need to postpone versus table?
In this instance, it would be either one, because it's just a one-shot deal. Table, if you were tabling an ordinance, you had first reading, and you table it for the second one and didn't do anything on it, it would die. Postponing it doesn't have that effect, so.
We have a motion and a second. So I look at the, yes, it's a private lake, but I look at public safety of downstream of a dam that could fail, right? Which is more than just private. How, and what drives the maintenance, the forever maintenance from the county, the FEMA
Yes, sir.
grant? And that's just if that homeowners association fails to do it.
The way it's written within the text and the guidance documents is the parties who are to the grant are all essentially jointly and severally responsible. But yes, it would be written that would have to put a management plan together, and if we can get a pass and, go ahead from the AGs or DHEC, I want to get that in the motion. Reasonable assurances from DHEC, now DES, or an AG opinion, just either one of those. If we can get that, then good. We get the management plan and going down the road. They're going to be first responsible, and hopefully the county would never have to be. But if it is, then it's going to have to be. It's going to have to do fix, repair, whatever is required.
But it's just, I'm thinking out loud. So if the HOA does fall to pieces, you have a dam there, you're still obligated to the public health and safety of those downstream of that dam. I mean, the county wouldn't just walk away and abandon a hazard now.
Well, I think we have 20 some more of these, what they consider high hazard potential dams. So, no, I agree, it would be bad for them to walk away from that danger. Similarly, with all the AG opinions, even the most recent one, they made a very good case on it. We've got to get EMS vehicles down these private roads to help people. We can't get them down there unless you let us do some work on these private roads. And the AG said, no, you cannot use public funds on private roads regardless of the circumstances. So that's why it does seem harsh, because there is a public benefit. I just want to make sure it's clean.
How quick can we get an AG opinion?
The last
or
one, it was
DHEC?
less than 2 weeks. I mean, it's really a function of how busy they are. I know a couple people there, that's not to say that they would move it ahead of anybody, but
Can we request to expedite it?
I can request an expedited opinion, yes, sir.
Would you-
Mr. Chairman, I believe that would be appropriate. I do want to make a verbal notation, just for the record purposes, that the deadline has been moved one time to November 1st. It is not very likely they're going to extend that deadline again. So if I had a recommendation for when we place it back on, if we don't have an AG opinion by October 1st, then we continue work on the process itself, waiting on that AG.
Yeah, you can do them on parallel tracks at
Parallel
that
track,
point.
yes.
Okay, so we're gonna, would you amend your motion to postpone?
Postpone, sure.
With,
Yes.
and directing to seek an AG opinion?
Sure.
And then, if we don't get one back by the first meeting in October, we'll just continue to work in parallel.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so we got a motion, second. Any further discussion on What's the motion?
What is the motion?
To postpone or table while we get an Attorney General's opinion
Okay.
on the legality. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? All right, we have next up, we have engineering services for pickleball, tennis courts, and parking at South Cove County Park Department PRT, amount $68,500, contingency 10%, that's $6,850, for a total of $75,350. Procurement was approved by council in fiscal year 2024-2025 budget process. The budget is $75,350, project cost $75,350, for a balance of $0. It's the staff's recommendation that council, one, approve engineering services for the South Cove pickleball tennis court expansion to Thomas and Houghton of Greenville, South Carolina, in the amount of $68,500, and approve a 10% contingency in the amount of $68,500.
So move. Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
Yes. Mr. Shirley?
Yes, sir.
So it's my understanding that it's full all the time, these pickleball courts. It's also my understanding that there's some Clemson University students coming out in the evenings and playing on the courts. Do we charge non-county residents to use the pickleball and tennis courts?
Everybody that comes into our parks pays the same parking fee. If we have free parking fees for seniors and our residents, but as long as they're paying the parking fee, they have access to all of the park just like everybody else. And we do coordinate those groups, so we get those groups together and we try our best to say who's going to play when and where to try to keep it as flexible as possible. But that court now, as it sits with 8 courts, is at capacity sometimes 3 times a day.
Oh, yeah, I've been out there, I haven't played on it, but I've seen what's going on.
Yeah.
It's
So this
big draw for
will
us.
expand us to 12 courts. We are working with City of Clemson. They are also building some courts at Nettles, and we're also pressing University, try to get them to build some courts down the line as well, just to try to spread the people out a little bit.
Sure.
The craze that's heard everybody across the country. I mean, the game is growing faster than the infrastructure.
Thank you.
So does anybody play tennis anymore? Is it all pickleball?
Both.
Yeah, and Ms. Jennifer said, 29 letters came in support. Any other questions? All right, here none, all in favor? Next, we have 6 fire apparatuses with loose equipment. This is for emergency services in the amount of $3,302,535. Procurement was approved by council and final reading of ordinance 2024-20 as a separate agenda item. Budget's $3,302,535. Project cost $3,302,535 with a balance of $0. Funding per ordinance 2024-20 with a first reading on August 20th, 2024 that was approved 4-0. And the second reading September 3rd, 2024 approved 5-0. And the third reading was tonight approved 5-0. It is staff's recommendation that council, one, approve the purchase of 6 commercial single axle tankers to Safe Industries of Easley, South Carolina in the amount of $3,302,535 and authorize the county administrator to execute documents for this purchase.
So move. Second.
Motion second, any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor? We have no county committee reports or board and commission appointments. We need a motion to enter executive session for, one, council discussion of personnel matter related to the county administrator. 2, receive legal advice and discuss litigation related to the expenditure of general obligation bond funds.
So move. Second.
Motion second.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to allow Councilman-elect James to attend the executive session.
Mr. Chairman, for the legal advice, since he wouldn't be part of the client yet, I'm afraid I could have invaded the attorney-client privilege. That's just something I want to be very cautious about.
So attorney-client privilege, and the rest is the annual review of the administrator, since he has not been here to review.
But it is a courtesy we've extended to
I don't-
incoming, but not.
Yeah, I mean, we can call him in if he wants to hear. So you made a motion, I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Need a motion to return from executive session?
Move.
Motion second. All in favor? Okay, Mr. Root?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. In relation to item number one in executive session, council discussion of a personnel matter related to the county administrator. Following the county administrator's evaluation that we just had in executive session, we need a motion to increase the county administrator's salary by $15,000 annually and to extend the term to September 17, 2027.
Second.
Motion second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I will draft that as an addendum to our contract, and the chairman will sign it. Objections?
All right, need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. Second.